Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are Wisconsin.
Citi Field, Queens, New York, Sunday afternoon baseball here on Fox Sports Wisconsin. And this afternoon, it's the Brew Crew and the New York Mets and a couple of power right-handed pitchers. Noah Syndergaard, the Mets' top prospect, making his second Major League start. And Wily Peralta, the record just 1-4, but he's gone along very well in his last 4 starts. And hi, everybody. We welcome you from Citi Field in New York. Great to have you with us this afternoon. The Brewers have a chance to win this series, Rock, and they're going to need Wily Peralta to be the kind of Wily Peralta he's been the last 4 times out.
Yeah, last 4 times out have been very good. He's 1-4, but the Brewers, if you look at the numbers closely, the Brewers have only scored him 6 runs in his 4 losses. He was particularly good his last time out against the Chicago White Sox. Very efficient through 4 innings. Gave up a couple of runs in the 5th. Left the game with a 6-2 lead, but the bullpen just not able to hold it. The Brewers would win the game, but Wily got a no decision. He's having a terrific month of May. He's made 3 starts, 1-1 and a 225 earned run average. Wily has been outstanding his last 4 times out. Important for him to keep the Mets off the board, and the Brewers need to get him some runs early today.
Yeah, the Mets won yesterday. It was a lopsided affair. Willy's had great success in his career against the New York Mets. He's never lost to them. He's won all of his starts at an ERA sparkling at 1.35. Brewers won the opener. Mets winning yesterday. Series on the line today. Carlos Gomez has gone deep in the series. Sophia has more on the go-go story when we continue.
Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. By Toyota. See where Toyota takes you. Test drive one at your Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places. And by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers, it's Miller time. Brewers and Mets fans taking the 7 train over to Queens here to Citi Field for the series finale between the Brewers and the Mets. Now, Carlos Gomez began his professional career with the Mets. He signed as a 16-year-old with the organization, made his debut here, but it is with the Brewers that he has flourished into the All-Star and Gold Glove winner that we know. And the leadoff hitter is our T-Mobile game changer. What Gomez has been able to do over the last 5 games, you see his average 368, 2 home runs over that stretch, along with 4 RBIs. And for manager Craig Counsell, Gomez has been able to produce because he's finally getting healthy from that strained right hamstring that had him on the disabled list, and he's starting to get into the everyday rhythm now.
He's just getting back into the playing everyday rhythm. I mean, he's had this, he had the 2-week DL stint, came back for a couple games, sat for 3. So, this is really the first time, he's starting to get back into that. He's the everyday player. So I think he's just gets some rhythm of daily at bats that's getting him used to swinging the bat like we know he's gonna.
We've got first pitch coming up for you here in the rubber match. WILY Peralta looks to stay unbeaten against the Mets. He will face their top prospect, Noah Syndergaard. We've got the series finale coming up at Citi Field here on Fox Sports Wisconsin.
Fox Sports Wisconsin, presented by Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. Book your stay now. Brian Anderson, Bill Schroeder, Sophia Menard. Today's game produced by Brent Reeland, directed by Mark Vittorio, and Brian Michalogic in there as well, doing whatever he does. Craig Counsell, the Brewers manager, and now 6-6, won his first road game of his managerial career here on Friday night, and then the Brewers lost last night. So Counsell trying to make it a series win today against the first place New York Mets in the National League East. Here's Counsell's lineup, brought to you by Potawatomi. Carlos Gomez leads off, Chris Davis, then Ryan Braun. Middle of the order is Adam Lind, Ramos Ramirez, and Scooter Gennett. Juan Centeno will catch today. He'll bat 7th. The pitcher Peralta bats 8th once again, and then Luis Sardinas making his 2nd consecutive start. Just called up when Gene Segura was placed on the disabled list Friday. Noah Syndergaard is on the mound today for the Mets, and Rock, at 22 years of age, he has emerged as the Mets' #1 pitching prospect, and he's making his second big league start today.
Yeah, he's a big guy, 6'6", 242 pounds. He's only 22 years old. He turns 23 at the end of August. But he has got some good stuff. Big fastball. He's got a good changeup and a curveball. Down in AAA, 3-0 in 5 starts, a 182 earned run average, and 34 strikeouts in 29 2/3 innings. He pitched pretty well against the Cubs through 5 innings, and gave up 3 runs in his final inning of work.
Syndergaard coming to the Mets in the R.A. Dickey deal. As you see the defense behind him, it is brought to you by Menards. They've got Kadire, the Gold Glove winner last year, Lagares in center, and Curtis Granderson in right. Around the horn it goes Eric Campbell, Wilmer Flores, Daniel Murphy, and Lucas Duda. Johnny Monell will get the call behind the plate, his second start in this series, catching Noah Syndergaard, who, as Rock mentioned, had been pitching in AAA Las Vegas, which is known as a hitter-friendly park, putting together some spectacular numbers down there. Carlos Gomez ready to lead off, the former Met. Sophia talking about Gomez prior to our broadcast today, and Craig Counsell saying that Gomez just needed some time to get settled into the lineup, get in the everyday routine. He seems healthy now, Rock. The hip is better, the hamstring has healed, and let's see if Gomez can get on a hot streak. First pitch of the ball game on a beautiful sunny Sunday is swung on and fouled back. Gomez wasting no time.
Yeah. How about the first pitch from Syndergaard? 97 miles an hour. This kid has got some terrific stuff. Once again, through 5 innings against the Cubs, did not allow a run.
Gomez pops up, and that's Murphy out in the grass to make the catch. 2 pitches and 1 away, and that's how the day begins for the man they call Thor. Noah Syndergaard.
Yeah, big man. Mentioned 6'6", almost 250 pounds. Got to be a menacing figure out there on the mound. They say he's a good athlete, swings the bat pretty well. A lot of pressure on this young man. They think this guy's going to be a good one.
Well, he is the next in line. They have a great run of pitching going here in New York as Chris Davis takes a strike. He's actually got it stitched into his glove, by the way. Thor. That's not a nickname we gave him. That's been around for a while. Noah Syndergaard. I guess Thor, the comic book.
Yeah, I get it.
He's from Asgard.
Right.
And Syndergaard's big like him, and his last name's Syndergaard, and it all works.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah. But second start in the big leagues, he's already got his nickname itched into his glove.
That bugs you a little bit.
Times have changed, haven't they?
That's an old school irritation going on right there.
Well, I guess when you're his size, you can do whatever you want, right?
They've got some pretty cool nicknames in their starting rotation, right? You've got Matt Harvey, who's the Black Knight, the Dark Knight, I beg your pardon. As Davis swings and misses, 98-mile-an-hour fastball. And 2 up and 2 down.
Yeah, that was one of the problems that the Brewers had in yesterday's ball game against DeGrom. They could not lay off of that high fastball. DeGrom was able to get his fastball to about 97. When you have a guy throwing 97, 98, you just have to lay off. Somehow you got to lay off that high heater. Very difficult to get a piece of.
Well, Syndergaard in his Mets home debut, and a lot of these fans have been anxious to see him up close and personal as he zips one in at 98 on Ryan Braun. He's amped up today, Syndergaard. He has pitched on this mound before, though. He appeared on this mound on this field at the 2013 Futures game during the All-Star festivities. He's got Braun down 0-2 right away. It's a quick study for Brewers hitters, having never seen Syndergaard, watching a little bit on tape, but until you're standing in there and you get an idea of what he has.
Well, he's going to have the early advantage his first time, his first run through the league. He did pretty well in the beginning of his game against the Cubs. Then it got to him a little bit.
No balls and 2 strikes. And Braun again a little bit late. Syndergaard is in the rotation spot of Dylan G, who is on his way back. G threw a minor league rehab game yesterday. Terry Collins saying Syndergaard maybe has 1 or 2 starts left, depending on how G came out of that. But Syndergaard's hoping to do enough today to continue on with this rotation. They are fronted by Bartolo Colon, who is the National League's top winner with 6 victories already. And then, of course, you have Matt Harvey, who has come back strong from Tommy John surgery. The Brewers miss Harvey in this series. And we saw last year's Rookie of the Year in the National League, Jacob deGrom, pitch well through 6 innings last night. So they've got all the pieces put together in their pitching staff. Question for the Mets is, will they hit? And they hit last night.
Yes, they did.
In a big way.
Yeah, they got the 2nd best team earned run average in the National League, second only to the Cardinals. They're at 3.05. Cardinals at 2.92 team earned run average.
Mets yesterday scoring 10 runs in an inning, and then finishing off the Brewers, scoring 14 runs yesterday. Here's another 2-strike pitch, and Braun able to stay alive. He's bringing the heat is Syndergaard.
Wilmer Flores last night with a grand slam. Leads his team in home runs with 6.
Yeah, Flores hit 9th last night. Pitchers batting 8th for the 2nd consecutive game for each team. Brewers have had their pitcher batting 8th this entire series. Milwaukee won 7-0 behind Kyle Lohse on Friday. Just a beautifully played game for the Brewers, all facets. Excellent defense. Ryan Braun made a diving catch. It's one of the highlights of the season thus far, and he also hit 2 homers on Friday. Lohse went 8 shutout, struck out 8. Different story last night. Mets winning 14-1 behind deGrom. And Braun, did he go? Yes, he did. And the kind of start that Mets fans were expecting out of Syndergaard. 3 up, 3 down, 2 Ks. Those are part of the family, those two. The Rodriguezes, Dwayne and Lisa. They work on our crew back in Milwaukee, and they're here enjoying games as a fan. We might have to put them to work, both of them.
Might have to, right?
They're being removed from their seats. Sorry, sir, you're going to have to leave now. No,
Busted holiday, right?
Already busted. Willie Peralta on the mound to face this batting order for the New York Mets, brought to you by Potawatomi. Curtis Granderson will lead off again. He homered last night. Eric Campbell and Lucas Duda. Middle of the order for Terry Collins is Michael Kadire, Daniel Murphy, and Wilmer Flores, who hit a grand slam last night. And then it's MONELL, Syndergaard, and Lagares. Note the pitcher batting 8 once again. And there is Peralta and his numbers for the season. He makes his 8th start today.
Yeah, 4 losses, and in those 4 losses, the Brewers have scored a combined 6 runs for Willie. He's having a very good month of May, 1-1 and a .225 earned run average. Very good his last time out. He left with the lead against the White Sox, but the Brewers bullpen could not hold it.
Well, Peralta can bring the heat as well. SYNDERGAARD topping 98 miles an hour in the top of the first. Peralta's cruising speed is 94 to 96. It's a very warm day here in New York as Granderson sends that deep to right, and there she goes, upper tank. Curtis Granderson starts it with a bang for the Mets.
Just continues to swing the bat well against Peralta. Wow. Now 5 for 6 against Willie with 2 home runs. Turns that fastball around. Right down the middle, pretty straight, and Granderson with home runs in back-to-back games. A 2-run shot last night and starts this one with a bang. Way back in right.
That's one of the longer home runs you'll see here. As Peralta deals strike 1 to Eric Campbell. The Brewers pitching staff has to start to eliminate the home run ball. They are getting killed with the long ball this year. 55 home runs allowed by Brewer pitchers, most in baseball.
Yeah.
Not a category you want to lead.
And that's the 8th that Willie has allowed, and normally Willie's not a guy that's going to give up a lot of home runs because of that heavy sinker. That pitch to Granderson, straight as a string, not much movement at all on it.
Now for Granderson, his 30th career leadoff home run. From the Tigers to the Yankees, and now here with the Mets. And Peralta in a full count. Eric Campbell, who was just promoted yesterday. Campbell had 2 hits last night, had a double. He drove in a run. And down he goes. Peralta strikes him out. First out for Willie is a K.
Well, let's check out the Menards Brewers defense. Davis, Gomez, and Braun in the outfield. Chris Davis gets a start after a couple of days off. You got Ramirez, Sardinas getting his 2nd start in a row at shortstop. Got a couple of hits yesterday. Got GENNETT and Lynn on the right side, and Centeno behind home plate. Juan Centeno getting his 3rd start behind home plate this year.
We saw a little bit of Centeno last night in a blowout game. Council was able to get some of the bench players in the game. Centeno finished the game behind the plate. This is especially satisfying for him. He spent time in the Mets organization, and his big league experience prior to this year came as a New York Met last year and in 2013. So
caught a lot in spring training. We saw a lot of him at the tail end of ball games in Arizona.
Lucas Duda in the air, left field, hit well. Davis is back, and he'll watch it bounce off the fence. A double for Duda. Back-to-back games with 2 baggers for the Mets 3-hole hitter.
Duda, one of those guys that has been able to keep his average up, and doing a nice job taking that one to the opposite field. Hasn't shown the power that the Mets have expected out of him. It drives that one deep into left field over the head of Chris Davis. So the Mets getting some pretty good swings off of Peralta here in the 1st inning.
No David Wright for the Mets. He's still on the disabled list. They're hoping to get him into baseball activities tomorrow, is the report. He's been out with a hamstring and now a lower back injury. As Michael Kadire attacking on the first pitch, comes up empty. Mets are without 2 of their big bats. Wright, of course, the face of their franchise. And Travis d'Arnaud, their outstanding young catcher, excellent hitting catchers, on the DL as well. A fractured finger. Ground ball to Ramirez, who bobbles, recovers, and the throw is a bad one. And an error on Ramirez. Normally that's his strength, throwing the baseball, but that one got away from him there, and Ramirez keeps the door open for the Mets.
Yeah, not often you're going to see Ramirez throwing off the mark and just clanked it, but had plenty of time to get the out. Adam Lynn having to come off the bag. Job number one with that first baseman, make sure you keep it in front of you. So Lynn has to come off the bag and make the catch.
All right, so 2 on with 1 away. A run is in on a Granderson homer. And here's Daniel Murphy. The kind of mistakes the Brewers are making just are maddening. And a big part of the reason that they enter this game 11 under 500, 13 and 24. You know, when the Brewers left spring training, the idea was you had a roster in place that if everybody can play up a tick and put the kind of team together that can play up a notch, then they have a chance to contend in this division. Well, it's been just the opposite. They've all, for the most part, played below what they are capable of. And of course, the injuries have really started to stack up.
Yeah. Just play like they did in the first half of last year, right? I mean, things just have not gone all that well. In any real aspect of the game, they haven't been very consistent in any part of the game.
Well, it is early, but the Brewers are digging themselves a very deep hole, and this is going to be a key road trip to try to understand what kind of team the Brewers are going to have the rest of the year. Murphy slaps one left field. Davis is over, and he's there for the out. Second out of the inning. Peralta retiring a good hitter. And that'll bring up Wilmer Flores, who gets a big hand. He had the big swing last night as part of that 10-run inning. Flores hit his first grand slam of the year and the first grand slam for the Mets this season. Flores has 2 grand slams in his brief career. Interesting that he did it out of the 9th spot in the batting order in a National League setting. It is extremely rare to have a position player bat 9th, and even more rare to have that player lead his team in homers. And he hit number 6 last night. That opened the floodgates for the Mets.
You go from 9th to 6th after hitting a grand slam, right?
On the ground to Sardinas, and that's close at second, but they get the out. And the inning is over. So Willie works around the error, but Granderson touches them all to get the Mets started.
Hotel and Casino, and one of the Mets' top prospects, Noah Syndergaard, is working with a 1-0 lead here in the second inning. Just his second career start, his Citi Field debut, and manager Craig Counsell saying it was helpful to his hitters that he does have at least one start under his belt in terms of video for them to watch. But as they get through the lineup here for the first time, he said the profile is what you would expect on Syndergaard. He said he's a young arm with plus stuff. He said we expect he may battle command at times throughout this outing, but he said he's certainly a very highly regarded prospect. And he said from the front office perspective, it was a name that everyone was familiar with. He was high on everyone's radar. He said our job today is make his learning process a little bit longer, make this debut an uncomfortable one for him. But Syndergaard settled in right away. His first 14 pitches, 11 of those were strikes, including 2 strikeouts.
And most of his fastballs were in the 96+ mile-an-hour range. Sophia, thank you. Adam Lind leads the way for the Brewers here in the second inning.
Just got such a nice, easy delivery. It looks like it's effortless, but that ball jumps out of his hand and has good finish to it.
Lind with 6 homers. Braun is the club leader with 8. And Adam swings and misses. Down he goes. He might have got a piece, but it's in the middle of the catcher for a strikeout regardless, and 3 consecutive strikeouts for Syndergaard.
The Brewers hope to get anything done against this young man. They're going to have to get that baseball down in the zone. Anything belt and above, good luck. When you're throwing as hard as he is, got to try and make him get it down in the strike zone at least early on. That was a fastball out of the strike zone. Problem is you got a guy 6'6" out there. He's throwing near 100 miles an hour. You don't have a whole lot of time to decide. You see it very well up there, but it's so hard to hit.
There's a good breaking ball in there for a strike. Syndergaard has all 4 pitches. Got the big fastball that has already hit 98. Got a curveball and an occasional changeup as Ramirez gets sawed off. Fly ball center field for out number 2. And you noticed something from his last start against the Cubs about the changeup, and you know, being your first start, I'm sure he was pretty amped up in that.
Pretty amped up. And he's throwing his changeup a little bit too hard, although he did do a very good job first 5 innings. He kept the Cubs off the board. Then in the 6th, he only got 1 out, gave up 3 runs, but you know, when you are a hard thrower like that, you're making your first big league start. I mean, by nature, you're just going to be excited and really amped up. And he didn't have a very good changeup. Not a whole lot of speed differential on a changeup. We'll see how he does it today. I would imagine first time through, it's going to be fastball, curveball. Maybe second time through, mix it up a little bit more.
Scooter Gennett with 2 away, trying to shake himself free of an extended slump at the plate. Hitting just 159 coming into play today. And he's got a tough customer here. Syndergaard looks like he has excellent command, and if you're watching at home saying, well, he's missing up, I think that's probably the game plan against the Brewers.
Well, he's going to keep throwing it up there if the Brewers keep swinging at it. That's for sure.
The Brewers have proven as a team generally that they are vulnerable to the high fastball. Jacob deGrom used it very effectively yesterday. And there's another one up there, and Gennett swings away again and fouls it back.
In theory, it sounds easy, but it's so difficult to do when you've got velocity like that. You got to start that bat early when you're throwing in the upper 90s.
There's a look at his 3 pitches. Keep track of how often he uses those pitches as we get on through this lineup. And Gennett late. Lazy pop up in the infield, and a dominant second inning as well for Syndergaard. 6 up, 6 down, 3 Ks. We head to the bottom of the second inning. Time now to look at our lows never stop improving. Wily Peralta, after a slow start to the season, his first 3 starts with an ERA at 5.68. He's turned it around in his last 4, despite only 1 win to show for his efforts.
It was back-to-back starts in the middle part of April that got that earned run average up there at St. Louis and against the Reds at home. Gave up 10 earned runs in 12 innings. Other than that, he's been pretty good.
Anderson hit one into the second deck in right field to start it. Peralta gave up a double to Lucas Duda. Ramirez committed an error, so 6 batters faced in the first inning. It's got the bottom of the order coming up. Johnny Monell, Mets catcher, and for some reason Centeno and Peralta having a tough time connecting here.
Probably haven't worked together too much. I don't remember Centeno making too many starts in spring training where Willie was out there. Centeno normally was catching later in the ball game, and I don't think these two have worked all that much.
Now the first pitch, and he wanted the breaking ball, and a swing and a miss by Monell. The right choice. Monell had his contract selected from AAA Las Vegas on May 5th, and at the time he was leading the Pacific Coast League in batting. He was hitting .397 in the PCL, had 15 RBIs, he had 4 homers, all that damage in just 17 games, so he gets a chance at the big league level.
And which is probably why you've got Monell behind home plate. You got Syndergaard. Those 2 guys work together in the minor leagues. That comfort level, I would imagine, is going to help Syndergaard out there today.
Went a couple of years between major league appearances. Before this season, it last appeared in the big leagues as a member of the Giants. There's a swing and a miss. Blocked by Centeno. He'll secure the K at first. So Peralta picks up his 2nd strikeout, and he's shown a pretty good hook in this inning.
Pretty good curveball right there. Down in the dirt. That's where you want it with 2 strikes. A 1-2 pitch going straight down. Good job by Centeno to keep it close. Willie's been mixing his pitches pretty well as of late. His last 4 starts. Curveball's been good. He's mixed in some change-ups.
And a fastball at 95 against the Mets pitcher, Syndergaard. Throws right-handed, bats lefty. And the reason he wears that protective brace on his right elbow, protect the moneymaker. Pretty good swing right there. That's deep into right center field. Gomez will run it down. Carlos cutting loose in this sizable Citi Field center field.
Yeah, those gaps get real small with Carlos Gomez out there. You're looking at 2 of the better center fielders in baseball in Lagares and Gomez. And check out Syndergaard. That one a bad pitch, down and in. 6-6 is Syndergaard, and got a little bit of air under that one. I don't think he got all of it, giving Gomez an opportunity to get to it at the warning track.
Sounded like it was off the end of the bat a little bit. He's got a pretty good swing. Yesterday, Jacob deGrom, the Mets pitcher, had 3 hits, 2 in 1 inning. In a game that just about everything went wrong for Milwaukee. Lagares swings and fouls. There's deGrom, who not only picked up the win yesterday with 6 innings of work, but had 3 hits for the first time in his career.
He'd been scuffling out on the mound as of late, but turned things around last night.
In there for a strike, 1-2 the count. So last year's Gold Glove Award winner in center field, Lagares, and Gomez, the Gold Glove Award winner from 2 years ago. Very good friends, those two. 2-2. Out to Sardinas. And the fielding shortstop makes a play to end the inning, and Wily Peralta comes back with a 1-2-3 second. New York. And if you're playing DraftKings with us today, we'll give you a couple of players to look at. Go to DraftKings.com, enter the promo code CREW, but you see Gomez and Granderson. That's already a good play if you've got Granderson. Giancarlo Stanton continues to impress. Miguel Cabrera hit his 400th career homer last night. We'll see Cabrera and the Tigers tomorrow. So those are the four just from our perspective, if you need a little assistance. Juan Centeno will lead off for the Brew Crew. Noah Syndergaard is retired the first 6 batters he's faced with 3 strikeouts.
Tigers hitting .283 as a team coming into play today, second in the American League. The Royals are at .288.
Yeah, the Royals are not only hitting for average, but hitting home runs. And boy, looking like a championship contender once again after making it to the World Series last year.
That is going to be Brewers are better packed to bats when they go to Detroit tonight. Those guys can hit.
3-game series against the Tigers. All night games from Comerica starting tomorrow. Great ballpark. Always enjoy our time at Comerica Park, downtown Detroit. 2 balls and a strike. Centeno takes one inside. No blemishes yet on Syndergaard's pitching line. Came out in the first inning. You knew he had the adrenaline pump, and he was throwing his fastball at 98 miles an hour in that first inning. That one comes in at 97, but it's up and away. And the first base runner for the Brewers, Centeno, draws the walk. Well, how about Giancarlo Stanton going around the league? This was earlier in the week at Dodger Stadium, and he hit one out of Dodger Stadium, completely out. And then that was just one of his 470-foot plus home runs. This was in the camera well just 3 days ago. And then 2 days ago, he hit this one. Watch where this ended up. I think they had that one at 474 feet. Peralta gets a good bunt down. And a sacrifice to advance Centeno.
It really is good that, you know, really no ill effects from getting hit in the face in Milwaukee last year. He seems to be back to normal. Well, he's getting some distance, isn't he?
Yeah. The display of power. I wasn't sure we were going to see that display again in the cleaner version of Major League Baseball. And here is Giancarlo Stanton doing things that just haven't been done in a long time in the game.
Incredible.
Some great young superstar talent on display in the major leagues each and every night. Here is Sardinas. And Granderson will put this one away for the second out. Centeno remains at second base.
Yeah, Sardinas able to handle a couple of fastballs inside last night. Got a couple of base hits. Syndergaard just throws a little bit too hard to be swinging the pitches off the inside corner, especially that fastball. 97.
2 outs for Carlos Gomez. And I'll ask if he went. He did not. First base umpire is Corey Blazer. Gomez rifled one off the wall on Friday night to drive in a run. Drove in a runner from first base. Swings out of his helmet and a good breaking ball from Syndergaard. Gomez had made up his mind and was not close. Throw him another one. And it's 1-2.
Well, when you throw in 97, 98, you got to start that bat. And when you got that one going, good luck to you when you're at the plate.
Yeah, that's a curveball that acts as a change of pace as well. It's about 16 to 18 miles per hour slower than his fastball. And another one, Gomez off the end of the bat to left, and that will retire the side. Noah Syndergaard, first time through the batting orders, a success. He is working on a shutout through 3. Game here in the Big Apple for the Brewers this year. Our Carsoup.com trivia question this afternoon: which 3 current Brewers also played for the Mets? You know Gomez is one of those. See if you can get the other 2. We may or may not have said as much in our broadcast already, proving that we are not privy to the Carsoup.com trivia question.
Wouldn't have ruined it, right?
Granderson leads the way for the Mets. Homered in the first. Took a fastball and hit it into the second level in right field. The home run porch. Granderson now with 5 home runs. And now 5 for 6 career against Peralta. 2 of those 5 hits are home runs.
Something about Willie Peralta that Granderson sees the baseball out of his hand pretty well. Gets good swings. When Willie makes a mistake, Granderson jumps all over it.
Right to GENNETT. And that'll take care of Granderson. 1 away for Peralta to start the 3rd.
Hey, there's no better place for a group outing this summer than a Brewers game at Miller Park. Reserve a block of seats, plan a custom tailgate, or even rent out an all-inclusive area or party suite. Start planning your group event for as little as $9 a ticket. Visit brewers.com/groups.
It's going to be a while before the Brewers return to Miller Park. This is game 3 of a 10-game road trip. That is a fair ball just over the bag. Eric Campbell on his way to second with a double. Well, Campbell has taken advantage of his playing time after being called up from AAA. Back-to-back games with doubles. He had 2 hits yesterday, and his first hit of the day is an extra base hit.
Rolls that one right over third base. Third base umpire Jeff Nelson calling it fair. It was in foul territory beyond the bag, but according to Jeff Nelson, over the bag in fair territory.
And that's why the umpire stands right where he does. Peralta has given up a homer and 2 doubles. Lucas Duda had that double in the first inning.
Double to left, hit it well down the left field line.
It looked like a ball that Chris Davis maybe misjudged a little bit. He stopped short of the warning track. It ended up bouncing off the wall. Not sure if he could have caught it anyway. It would have been a tough catch. Probably would have sent him crashing into the wall if he could even reach it, but he pulled back and
a long way to go. He was playing more in the gap when Duda was up his first time. A little bit more straight away now for Davis and left.
Peralta had a 3-up 3-down second inning, and now a runner in scoring position behind him with 1 away in the third, and the heart of the Mets order coming up. After this road trip concludes, which will be a week from today in Atlanta, the Brewers will finally return home on the 25th of May. The world champion Giants are in town. 3-game series with the Giants, 3 with the Diamondbacks with a day off in between. 6-game, 7-day homestand. In the air, right center. That's down. Base hit. He's going to go to the wall. Scoring easily is Campbell. And Duda has his second double of the game. It's an RBI double with 1 out, and the Mets lead 2-0.
That looked more like a breaking pitch that time. A slider from Willie Peralta. Duda now with double to left, and now a double into the gap in right center. Changeup, actually. I think that really pulled the string on him a little bit. Duda able to wait back and knock it into the gap to make it 2-0. That pitch was right down the middle, up in the zone.
And here is Kadire, who reached on an error his last time up. Aramis Ramirez committing the error. Last 2 years, Colorado Rockies have won the batting title. Justin Morneau last season. Michael Kadire won it the year before. First year as the Met. Right to Sardinas. And the second out. Ground balls are a big part of Willie Peralta's game. When he's right, he'll get a lot of ground ball outs. It can get him out of a few jams as well.
He did that against the White Sox back at home. I mean, for 4 innings, he did not allow a baseball out of the infield. Had the sinker working well, gave up a couple of runs in the 5th.
Cruising along against the White Sox his last time out, but a 38 pitch 5th inning ended up making it a 6-inning start.
He left the game with a 6-2 lead. You see the numbers in his last start: 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Seems like you know, the league is attacking Willie early in the count these days, allowing him to keep that pitch count down in most starts.
Peralta has the electric stuff, but he's not a guy that racks up a lot of strikeouts because of that fact. Hitters are up there in attack mode for the most part. Brewers are going to go ahead and walk Murphy here. Interesting move.
This is one of the big differences that Craig Counsell started to incorporate. Much more willing to give the intentional walk. Not something Ron Renneke was a big fan of.
So Murphy got himself in a hitter's count, and Counsell takes the bat out of his hands. And we'll give Peralta a fresh start against a right-handed hitter in Wilmer Flores, albeit the Mets' top home run hitter. 2 on, 2 out. A run is in. RBI double by Duda. Back-to-back doubles in the inning from Campbell, then Duda. And Peralta's fallen behind Wilmer Flores.
It seems to be a little out of sync. I don't know if it's pitcher catcher just trying to get to know each other a little bit. Really doing a lot of shaking off, waiting out there on the mound.
There's a good fastball for a strike. One of his better bolts of the day at 96. Had some sink on it as well. Flores hit the grand slam last night. And a lot of thunder in that bat. This one shatters the bat. And Sardinas will put it away to end the inning. Peralta gives up a run on 2 hits. Strands 2 on. It's 2-0 Mets after 3.
Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. Chris Davis leading off the 4th here with the Brewers down 2-0, and Craig Counsell said the job of balancing playing time between Chris Davis and Gerardo Parra is one of those problems that makes you smile, he said. Chris Davis coming off a homestand where he had 10 hits, including a 4-hit game followed by a 3-hit night, and he said as long as both Davis and Parra are producing, he said you don't want to keep either one on the bench for too long, he said, so he'll continue to go with the best matchups. He said as long as they're both producing, both will play. It's one of those problems that you like to have, and he said the bonus of that is Parra has been so tremendous as a pinch hitter that it gives you a little bit more depth on your bench.
Thank you, Sophia. And the fact that Parra would, on most ball clubs in the big leagues, Rock, be a starting outfielder. That is one area of depth that the Brewers do enjoy, and Parra's really swung the bat well over a pretty significant stretch.
And normally you're going to put him in there against some really tough right-handers. I guess you would classify Syndergaard as one of those guys, but Chris Davis hadn't started the last 2 games. You got to keep him in the lineup too.
And Davis is an exceptional big velocity fastball hitter. I talked to Chris a little bit at the batting cage today about his season so far. It's been kind of an up and down road. He told me that he feels like he was locked in. He felt great at the plate, had a nice little stretch where he felt like his old self. And then, in his words, he tried to go get it, meaning he's going good, he's starting to want to put up some numbers, and then he got a little jumpy at the plate.
Thinking about the home runs, I mean, that was right about the time the Brewers were really having a difficult time hitting home runs. And the more you read about that, people talking about that lack of home run power, guys like Davis are going to put it upon themselves. They'll not just be happy with driving the ball into the gap in right center. They're going to be thinking about home runs. That's what they're paid to do.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Syndergaard delivers, and Davis turns that one around quickly, but right at Kadauer. Only 1 walk as a base runner for the Brewers today. Syndergaard has 3 strikeouts. He struck out BRAUN his last time up. Brewers are looking for their first hit. Powerball home run leaderboard has BRAUN at the top with 8. Then Adam Lind, who has a bunch of family here in the ballpark today. Second time through the order. Gomez and Davis with outs to left field, and now we'll see if BRAUN can start to dial in Syndergaard a little bit. Big Plains taken off over LaGuardia coming across Citi Field. Roller to Duda. 2 outs.
I don't think the ballpark was in the takeoff flight pattern yesterday. It didn't hit too many last night.
It rained all day yesterday.
Yeah. On Friday and today, coming over about every, 6-7 minutes?
And they're coming right over that scoreboard right there. You know, if you were thinking about where to put a ballpark now, you know, you might not put it near an airport like that. But because of the history of Shea Stadium, and then when they built this venue and to start the 2009 season, it's just kind of part of New York Mets baseball.
Absolutely, yeah.
You wouldn't want it any other way.
Kind of a home field advantage, right? You don't get shocked by hearing the planes coming over. Get used to it.
Adam Lind with 2 away. He was a strikeout victim in the 2nd inning.
Although it's really good for getaway day.
Yes. You could almost walk over to the Brewers airplane.
Yeah. Unless it's a night game. They have a curfew here. What is it? Midnight? 11 o'clock? Midnight? Can't take off after that.
And then you drive an hour to Newark, New Jersey.
Right.
0-2 pitch. Lind pulls it foul. Just missed the bag. It's got to be a nice day today for Adam Lind. He's got his mom, his dad, niece and nephews all here at the ballpark in New York City. You wouldn't know it by his demeanor. He's kind of the same guy every day. You don't know if he's happy or sad. He's pretty much got
He's to himself.
the poker face.
Nothing wrong with that.
This guy would be a real tough competitor in the World Series of Poker, I'm guessing. There'd be no reading Adam Lind's emotions. There are the Lind family. His nieces and nephews there. The little kids, they all have their Adam Lind jerseys on. There's Mama Lind right there. She's back. And Adam responds with a base hit.
Enough of that.
Just as Mom sits down, her son delivers with a single.
Yep, came back from the concession stand to see her son get a base hit. Well done, Mom.
Yes. Satisfying sip right there after a base hit.
She's seen a ton of Adam Lind hits in her day. Not a bad hitter.
First hit of the game for the Brewers comes with 2 outs in the 4th. Ramirez takes a ball.
And Lind was able to stay back on a changeup. Remember, we were talking about the changeup, a little inconsistent against the Cubs. Changeup at 88 miles an hour.
Two 2-0 Mets. Whoa, inside, almost hit Ramirez. Aramis flew out to center field in the 2nd. Put a pretty good swing on Syndergaard, but he caught it off the end of the bat. And he was late on this one. A lot of foul territory over there, and Duda will make the catch to end the inning. On a 2-0 pitch, Ramirez pops out. Brewers come up empty in the fourth, still 2-0 New York. Back to Friday, and a play that is worth another look. Courtesy of Columbia St. Mary's. And Rock, I've got this right now as maybe the catch of the year in the early part of the schedule. What do you think?
Yeah, that was an outstanding job by Braun. That was on Friday night, the night that he hit 2 home runs. At the time, the Mets did not have a hit on the board. And Brian Braun with a terrific catch out there in the gap in right field.
And then he came up to the plate the very next inning and hit a home run, a 2-run homer. Brewers won 7-0, spinning their second shutout of the year on Friday. Mets winning big last night, 14-1. So here we are in the rubber game of this series. Mets are up 2-0. Johnny MONELL, the New York catcher, takes strike one from Peralta. Willie Peralta has never lost to the Mets in his 3 starts, and he's won all 3 games. He was 2-0 last year against the Mets. Outstanding earned run average in his 3 New York starts, a 1.35 ERA. He'd only given up 3 earned runs in 20 innings against the Mets in his first 3 starts. Today he's given up 2 earned runs in 3 innings.
Yep, 2-0 last year, a 2.25 earned run average against New York last year. We talked about it on our broadcast open today that in Willie's 4 starts, the Brewers have scored a combined 6 runs. Well, there have been times when Willie's pitched pretty well, either got a loss or a no decision.
Warm Sunday afternoon, a lot of humidity today as well. Peralta loves the heat. Growing up in the Dominican Republic, he certainly appreciates pitching in the hot weather a lot more than cold weather games. He's had some of his best games as a Brewer when there's been a lot of heat and humidity.
Today we classify as a hot, humid day.
Not scorching summer heat, but it's getting there.
It's good baseball weather.
Had a lot of rain yesterday. It rained on and off throughout the entire game last night. Just a light, annoying rain. That one just missed. Count goes full to Johnny Monell. Peralta struck him out his last time up. Willie has 2 Ks. The Bronx, New York born Johnny Monell. Got to be a thrill for him to be playing for the Mets.
Yeah. One of 3 catchers on the roster right now for the Mets.
Keep track of those New York natives. The 38th. We'll have a graphic with the 37 other New York natives to play for the Mets momentarily. As Peralta misses with a breaking ball. That's a pitch he struck him out on in the second. And a leadoff walk in the fourth.
Yep, the Silly Experience is set to open in Miller Park on Friday, May 29th. And in conjunction with its debut, the Brewers are giving away a Bud Selig bobblehead, courtesy of IBS Dynamite, on Sunday, May 31st against the Diamondbacks. For tickets, visit Brewers.com.
What do you think? That's about a 1980s version of Bud Selig?
That's about the time when I was playing, I would think. When he was pacing the catwalk out there at County Stadium, giving me the business for punching out again.
All out of love, though.
Absolutely, all just because he cared.
Commissioner Emeritus Bud Selig.
Still busy.
Yeah, I think he's teaching on 2 campuses out at Marquette and University of Wisconsin. Still traveling the country. He's got a book coming out as well, I believe. SYNDERGAARD bunting right through that, and it's 1-2 now. Well, you can tell just by looking at him, if he pitches well in New York, he is going to be a big star in this town. He's got that look. Mets are envisioning this dominant starting rotation with Harvey and SYNDERGAARD, and now DeGrom has emerged as one of the great young pitchers in the game. Terry Collins is very excited about what he has on the mound right now.
Get Dylan G back.
And he bunts through another one for a strike and a strikeout for Peralta, the first out of the inning on his 3rd K. The 9th place hitter, Juan Lagares. Wonder how these big league position players feel about showing up to the park with their names slotted in the 9th place in the batting order in a National League lineup. That's got to be a little disconcerting, isn't it?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's kind of one of those things that, a couple of teams are doing. I guess 3 teams are doing it: the Brewers, Mets, and the Cubs. Just the way it goes. You'd like to have a good on-base percentage type of hitter in the 9th spot if you're going to hit your pitcher in the 8th spot. And really, Lagares really doesn't fit that criteria.
Yeah, his on-base percentage is just .287.
A little different in the American League, though.
Right.
Batting 9th.
I remember Jason Kendall. He used to be the guy in the Ken Maka era when the Brewers were having their pitcher bat 8th. Kendall was the guy on occasion that had to bat 9th, and he never said anything during the season. But I remember when the season ended, or maybe it was the next year in spring training when he was with the Royals, he said it really bothered him.
Well, he
shouldn't have bothered him.
He used to be a leadoff hitter, right?
And that was the idea, that he'd essentially be a second leadoff man, but it really rattled him a little bit.
Yeah, it's all about how you sell it. I mean, your manager's got to sell it to you. Not that you're not a good hitter. It's, I need you in there because of your on-base percentage. You're going to get on base. You're going to score some runs.
It's because of your talent that the pitcher is hitting ahead of you.
Right. It's all about the delivery. You got to sell it.
It's the way you use your hands when you speak. On the ground, that's through, base hit. Lagares on an 0-2 pitch, just trying to put it in play, and he finds a hole. Good piece of hitting there by the 9th place hitter. See, the 8th place hitter struck out. Lagares got a single. He's way better.
Now because he's hitting 9th, you got the top of the order up with a couple of men on, right? And just punches that one into the opposite field. That pitch was middle in. He pulls the hands in and just shoots it that way with 2 strikes. Just trying to stay on the baseball and gets himself a hit.
Here's Granderson now with 2 on. The same reason applies for both teams on why they bat the pitcher 8th. Because each team has a leadoff hitter with pop. Granderson for the Mets, who's already homered today, and Gomez for the Brewers. Carlos Gomez. 2 on, 1 out. Strike.
When you look at the numbers, I mean, when you compare the numbers as far as productivity and run production, it's pretty much 50-50 whether batting the pitcher 8th actually works or benefits you at all. But talking to Craig Counsell, he acknowledges that. But based on his personnel right now, he feels as though that's his better opportunity, best shot at getting some men on base for Carlos as the game goes on.
And I guess what it boils down to is, are you more comfortable with your pitcher batting 8th or having your leadoff hitter who has power somewhere else in the lineup? Both managers want Gomez for Counsell and Granderson for Terry Collins. They want those players in the leadoff spot. A swing and a miss. Granderson chases one, and a big strikeout there early for Peralta.
Yeah, it didn't look like Willie wanted to give Granderson any more fastball. There's a good curveball going straight down. And you can see Centeno wanting that pitch down in the strike zone, and that's where he put it. Borderline strike, and Granderson out in front of it. Trying their best not to have to throw him a fastball.
Good action on that breaking ball. So still 2 on, now 2 out. Here's Eric Campbell. Willie starts him with a slider. A little different variety to Campbell is the one we saw to Granderson. Campbell doubled right down the third base line his last time up. To right, base hit. Johnny Monell is going to try to score. The throw from BRAUN late. RBI single for Eric Campbell. Comes with 2 outs, and the Mets lead 3-0.
Guy's been a tough out since coming up. RBI with 2 out. Looked like Willie was going to be able to get out of it after striking out Granderson. And pretty much the same pitch that Lagares got for the base hit. You see the way he pulls the hands in and shoots it into that big hole between first and second. Not hit all that hard. And that allowed MONELL, the catcher, to score from second base, running on contact.
And the Mets are just chipping away here. A home run in the first from Granderson, got an RBI from Duda in the third, and now an RBI from Campbell in the fourth. Now Duda bats with 2 on. A lot of pitches each inning for Peralta. His best inning was the second. That was a 3-up, 3-down frame. But it's going to be a short start for Peralta. He is racking them up. Number 79 here as we play in the fourth. And Duda takes 3-0 is the count. Brewers got a short start yesterday out of Matt Garza. Certainly can't have another one today. There are no off days for the Brewers for a while. Don't have an off day on this road trip.
Yeah, 3 1/3 for Garza. After Kyle Loesch put up 8 innings on Friday.
Brewers don't have an off-day schedule till May 28th. Ball 4, walked him on 4 straight. Duda's been on all 3 times today. And Wily Peralta is walking the tightrope here with the bases full and Kadire coming up. And Rick Kranitz is on his way out.
Getting behind the count and really not wanting to throw strikes on those 3-0-3-1 pitches. It was a 3-0 breaking pitch to Lucas Duda. Essentially saying, I don't want any part of you right here. I'm going to go after Kadire, which is no walk in the park either.
Lagares at third, Campbell, who drove in the run, at second, Duda at first. Bases are full of Mets. Mets had the bases loaded twice yesterday in the same inning, a 10-run inning. Can't afford to give up any more runs. 2-0. 6 consecutive balls delivered by Peralta.
Just has seemed a little out of sorts here today. I'm not sure what it is. He's had great success against the Mets, but maybe it's the fact that not in that comfort zone with Maldonado or Lucroy.
It's a dangerous pitch here. 2-0. Kadire rips one to left, base hit. In to score, Lagares. Campbell's right behind him, and Kadire drives in 2. Just like that, the Mets are up 5-0. You could just feel that one coming.
Yeah, well, 2-0 after walking Duda on 4 pitches. Got a fastball up, and Michael Kadire's not going to miss too many of these. Watch where this pitch is. A little bit above the belt, right down the middle, and a 2-out RBI for Kadire. That's now 2 2-out base hits that have scored all 3 runs in this inning.
Here's Murphy. Murphy was intentionally walked his last time up after getting ahead in the count 2-0. Pitch count climbing, 5 runs already in. Bullpen is active. That's the last thing you want to see in the 4th inning. Two on, 2 away. Murphy, big hopper to Lind, and Peralta's there for him to end the inning. But the Mets score 3 runs, all coming with 2 outs. A 36-pitch marathon inning for Peralta.
Head to the 5th inning, and just a reminder, tonight Fox Sports Live will get you caught up on all the NHL and NBA playoff action, plus highlights on tonight's MLB game. You can see Fox Sports Live tonight on Fox Sports 1, or see it simulcast right here on Fox Sports Wisconsin.
Hard Rock, here we are in New York, and we are on our way to the Brewer half of the 5th. And Noah Syndergaard making his home debut for the Mets. Second major league start, and he looks good. Mets sitting atop the National League East. Figures to be a good race this year. Right now it's the Mets and the Nationals. Braves are in there, although they're 2 games under 500. I could see 3 or 4 teams being involved in that pennant race this season. Mets, Braves, Nationals, and the Marlins. I think the Marlins are going to get it turned around at some point. They're kind of limping right now. They've lost a couple of games in a row, and they are 5 under 500. But that's a good ball club, I think.
They're swinging the bats pretty well. They have been they're second in the league in batting average, .269 as a team. They're hitting home runs.
That's saying a lot.
At least a couple of them are.
Yeah, Stanton's hitting a bunch.
And they got the best fielding team in the National League. They've only committed 14 errors this year.
Well, the New York baseball world feels right again for these folks, because the Yankees and the Mets are both sitting atop their respective divisions. They played in the World Series in 2000. Mets, Yankees. Hard to believe that was 15 years ago, right? Think about it.
Yeah.
Man, seems like yesterday.
The odds of Clemens debacle.
Yeah, there they are. Mets won the pennant. Yankees won the World Series. It is interesting, the contrast in the ballparks as well. 2 new stadiums. They're each 6 years old, and the Yankee Stadium is very much a hitter-friendly ballpark. I mean, it's almost a little bit of a joke in the summer in right center.
Right center, yeah, that's a jet stream out there, right?
And a short porch with no alley, so balls fly at Yankee Stadium. Meanwhile, the Mets built a ballpark that they've tried to make a little more hitter-friendly, but it's still a massive pitcher ballpark. The wall you see here is a new wall. As a matter of fact, it's the 3rd version of the new fence. That black wall in the back, that was the original home run wall. That is a long way out there in the gaps.
Yeah, it is.
And it wasn't just the distance, remember, that had the Mets hitters freaked out for the first year. It's the height of the wall. It took away a lot of home runs. Remember Jason Bay? Never was the same.
Had them all scratching their heads.
2-2 pitch to GENNETT. Easy enough for Duda. 1 away for Syndergaard. Did you ever get a little spooked by a pitcher-friendly ballpark when you played? I mean, did you go up there trying to do something a little more? I mean, you were a power hitter. Did ballparks have that much of an effect on you mentally?
Sometimes, you go into Fenway Park. I mean, you go in there and that wall seems so close. I mean, sometimes the tendency is, to get up there close to the plate. That's what Darrell Evans used to do when he played with the Tigers. He'd be right on top of home plate and try and pull everything. He didn't have to hit him that far to get him out. Same thing with Fenway. Just get under him. I don't think you really changed your approach on a big ballpark. I think you changed your approach a little bit more on a short porch. Just the opposite.
Centeno, a little flare to left to Dyer is there. 2 outs.
Hey, today's time of the game winner. Hooterville Station in Kewanee, Wisconsin. If they call the Brewers in the next 24 hours, they get 40 Miller Lite beer pen tickets to a Brewers home game this year. This offer courtesy of the Tavern League of Wisconsin and Miller Lite. That's Jerry Augustine's hometown, isn't it?
Right there on the Kewanee River.
Kewanee. That is Hooterville, right?
Uh-huh.
Not Howderville.
Oh, you know what? I think you had it right.
You don't know. That's rhetorical.
I do know Kewanee is near Green Bay. That's what I do know.
It's not the Petticoat Junction version of Hooterville, right? Dating myself, I'm sorry.
Right on Lake Michigan, Kewanee. Good fishing up there. You see the salmon swimming upstream there on the Kewanee
You're
River.
a big fisherman, aren't you?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
I like other people's fish. Down goes Peralta, and Noah Syndergaard is turning into a story here today. 1-hit shutout through 5-0 Mets. You by Marshfield Clinic. Don't just live, shine. By Piggly Wiggly, the official supermarket of Fox Sports Wisconsin. And by Hupy and Abraham. 800-800-5678. Hupy and Abraham. Tell them you mean business. It is the rubber game of this series, and they came to play. That feels like a Saturday night outfit that remains for Sunday afternoon. You know what I mean? That's not even a go-home situation. That's just stay out and let's just go to the ball game.
Let's have at it.
WILMER Flores leads off for the Mets. 5-0 New York. They scored 3 runs last inning, and they all came with 2 outs. And Flores turns that one around. Peralta is coming up to the end here. Pitch count is at 89. Struggled today.
Just getting a lot of pitches down the middle, leaving pitches up in the strike zone. Just one of those days for Willie. He's been so good for 4 consecutive starts.
Here's Johnny Monell. Speaking of New York baseball, today's a big day in New York baseball history. Today, or on this day in 1998, there's a grounder, got a chance to turn it. Lind, Sardinias, back to Lind, just like that. 3-6-3 double play to wipe out the leadoff base runner. So on this day in 1998, David Wells threw a perfect game for the Yankees.
Where's Babe Ruth had, didn't he?
He did.
I mean, the real Babe Ruth hat.
I worked with David Wells as a broadcaster on a couple of occasions.
Did he tell you all about it?
Yeah, he did. He sold that hat for an insane amount of money.
So not only was it Babe Ruth's hat, it was the author of A Perfect Game.
The David Wells hat.
Right. You want to share with us how much you got for it? Or is that private?
No, Well, I'm trying to remember now. I feel like it was like a $500,000. Does that sound right?
Wow.
Peralta picks up a strikeout to end the inning. All right, that's a good inning for Willie. He needed that after a leadoff single. Gets a double play and a K.
Back at Citi Field, the Brewers trailing 5-0 here in the 6th. You can join Brewers pitcher Matt Garza and his teammates for the Brewers Bowl-a-thon on Sunday, July 19th. You can enjoy a VIP reception, silent auction, and of course bowling with the Brewers players while raising money for the Sojourner Family Peace Center, a safe haven for abused women and children. For more information, you can visit brewers.com/beyondthediamond, or you can call 414-902-4532. And shortstop Luis Sardinas leading off this inning for the Brewers. He made his debut yesterday. Earlier in the game, we were talking about the depth in left field. Same can be said for the depth at shortstop. Gene Segura on the disabled list now, but 3 options for Craig Counsell between Sardinas, Hector Gomez, and Elian Herrera, who can all play short. He said, no doubt they're all great choices, and he said they're all going to be called on to help at some point. He said he feels that way about every spot on the roster. There's a place for everyone to contribute, and the shortstop decision will be one that's made day to day. But Sardinas, a great debut for him yesterday, 2 hits.
All right, thanks, Sophia. And there is Gene Segura. We saw Segura throwing today, which is a good sign. He is on the disabled list with a fractured right pinky. And I can tell you his arm's in great shape. He was throwing rockets to Ed Cedar as he was just trying to stay loose, make sure the arm stays strong. So obviously the pinky, which you would think would have an effect on his throwing, is not. I don't know if his accuracy is where he wants it, but wow, he was letting it fly today with Ed Cedar.
Yeah, he fought tooth and nail when they said that he was going to go on a disabled list. He did not want to, but he's had an issue. He broke that finger before, and the Brewers concerned that if they don't sit him down, allow it to heal a little bit, they might have to go in there and have surgery. So better safe than sorry for the young shortstop. But he did not want to go on the disabled list.
And I think Craig Counsell liked that fact that he didn't want to go on the DL. He fought to stay on the field. I mean, you'd hope every player would have that attitude, but the reality is when you're sitting 10, 11 games under 500, there's a lot of players that wouldn't fight you at all to go on the disabled list, which is a shame. But I think Counsell liked the fact that Segura wanted to stay out there.
It's certainly been a challenge for the Brewers' new manager. Certainly. Issues have stayed the same throughout.
2-2 the count on Sardinas. Turns on one. Right field. That is hooking. Foul. Wow, hit it a long way. He's not a big guy, but he packed a little punch right there.
Yep. Turned around a big heater.
Sardinas came to the Brewers in the Giovanni Gallardo trade. Came with 2 other minor league players. And the first one to the big leagues in that group. And he slaps one to the opposite field. Good piece of hitting from the switch hitter Sardinas. That's his 3rd hit as a Brewer. Had 2 last night.
Kind of showcases his abilities to swing the bat. He hits one deep down the right field line. He hooked it foul. And then look at this pitch. Looked like an off-speed pitch up. Just kind of serving it over there and just out of the reach of Campbell at third. Doing a great job covering both sides of the plate. Sardinas. I talked to Rick Sweet, the AAA manager in Colorado Springs, about Sardinas a couple of days ago. When the Brewers announced that Sardinas was coming up. Wasn't very impressive as a hitter in spring training for whatever reason, but Rick Sweet was saying that you're going to see a much different hitter, and we certainly have so far. He's worked very hard at his hitting, and he's ready to get 3 hits.
Sardinas was hitting .288 in AAA. Got a single to lead off. Oh, Gomez hit in the helmet. Carlos is down. Oh, a fastball comes up and in, and Gomez.
How many of those are we going to see this year? My goodness. That's the 3rd one.
Just hope the helmet took the brunt of that fastball by SYNDERGAARD. See if we can get a look. Gomez with the helmet pop off immediately.
Gomez able to turn his head right at the last moment, and they got the helmet right around the ear flap. He just hoped that he's going to be all right. Here it is. Check it out. Able to turn his head, get his face out of the way, and hit the helmet square on. Very fortunate there.
Man.
You've seen Gene Segura get hit in the helmet a couple of times this year, and now Gomez.
Both of the Brewers' athletic trainers are out there. That's Dave Yeager in the foreground. Dan Wright.
Can't imagine him staying in the game. I mean, you got to be careful. I mean, that hit flush.
Dan Wright taking Gomez to a little concussion protocol, it looks like. Terry Collins is on his way out to try to settle down his young pitcher. That can have as much of an effect on a pitcher who hits a batter in the head than the injury that the batter sustains. Pitchers can be a little skittish after something like that. I don't know the personality of SYNDERGAARD, but Collins is out there to make sure that.
Looks kind of like a deer in headlights right now, kind of stunned at what happened.
It's interesting how Collins positions himself as well. Away from Gomez, SYNDERGAARD has to turn his back. So Gomez is up on his feet. That's a good sign. They wouldn't take any chances.
I can't imagine Gomez staying in the game. Well, you know Carlos, he's going to want to stay in there. And when Gene Segura got hit in the head, it was in Chicago, I believe it was. He went down to first base, and before the next pitch was thrown, he walked off. It just wasn't right.
Now, Major League Baseball is tremendous about concussion testing, concussion protocol. Craig Counsell, I think, letting the news in that Gomez is coming out. Carlos, it looked like he was trying to talk his way in, but
just can't take any chances with that.
Counsell cleaned that up quickly. So the Brewers manager is going to make sure Gomez doesn't have the chance to talk his way in. And Gomez will head to the clubhouse. It looks like he's okay for now. We'll wait on an official report, but the fact he's walking off under his own power is a good sign.
He did not have any opportunity to get out of the way of that pitch. What he was able to do was turn his head, so The helmet took the brunt and not the cheek or the chin.
Gerardo Parra will enter the game. So a hit by pitch. And it is first and second with nobody out. And now we'll keep an eye on Syndergaard after that delivery. Take one more look at this fastball up and in. Man, oh man, at real speed, it's scary.
Big fastball, too, upper 90s.
I mean, as painful as that looked like it was, you're right, Rock. He is extremely fortunate that didn't hit him flush in the cheek or the face like what we saw with Giancarlo Stanton last year.
Right.
And that Syndergaard fastball is coming in there about 10 to 12 miles an hour faster than Mike Fiers' pitch that hit Stanton last year. They all do damage. Well, the Brewers have a chance here. 2 on, nobody out. Trying to get to the young pitcher.
And it's also difficult for the guy coming up next, Chris Davis.
Well, it wouldn't surprise the Mets if Syndergaard lost a little bit of command here, and Collins taking no chances. He's got double barrel action in the bullpen right away. Those two have been throwing ever since the hit batter.
Now this is the inning in his first start against Chicago that he gave up some runs. He gave up 3 runs in the 6th inning. Only had 1 out after breezing through the first 5.
Foul tip off the mask of MONELL.
That doesn't feel much better.
No. Full count, 2 on. This is a chance for the Brewers to get right back in this game. The area of concern for the Mets is their bullpen leading up to their closer. They have an excellent closer in Jeurys Familia, but getting to him has been a problem for the Mets. They've had so many injuries in their bullpen. Another payoff coming with 2 on. And Davis strikes out. Got to chase ball 4, 98 miles an hour.
Yep, that's the pitch that has been giving the Brewers fits here in New York. Last 2 days. That high heater. Out of the strike zone. Davis upset with himself. Knew it was out of the zone, but way behind it. Tough pitch to get a piece of.
The 5th strikeout for Syndergaard, and 3 of the 5 have come on high fastballs just like that. Here's Braun now. 1 out, still 2 on. Started him with a hook and a good one. He buckled his knees, which you don't see happen to Ryan Braun very often. Brewers need a big hit. They need somebody to step up and deliver a run producing hit.
Yeah, get him back into this ball game. Ryan Braun just the guy to do it.
Well placed fastball that time at 98 on the outside corner. It's 0-2. Tell you, the stuff is electric for Noah Syndergaard. Impressive. You can see why he's the #1 prospect of the Mets system right now. Here's an 0-2 to Braun. Back to the fastball, and his next fastball of the day. Well, Ryan Braun on Friday hit 2 homers. Pushed his Powerball home run count to 8, which leads the team. Hit one into the second deck. His first of 2 home runs on Friday night. This was the second homer, opposite field blast.
A line drive. One of of those would look good right now.
No balls, 2 strikes. Braun hanging tough. Syndergaard bringing the heat. Reaching back, throwing as hard as he can here.
Yeah, probably realizing that his pitch count's in still pretty good shape. He's able to get through this. The Brewers are looking for a knockout punch, send them to the showers here.
Another 0-2 coming. Braun, he's upset at himself. He spotted that breaking ball and he just missed it.
Just got under it. There's a hanger. It's hard to go up there and look for that pitch though when you're throwing near 100 miles an hour.
86 pitches. He's been pretty efficient thus far. Best threat of the game for the Brewers with 2 on. The 0-2 again. Braun fouls another one off. What an at-bat he's got going. I don't know Syndergaard at all, but I'm guessing he chose the number 34 to honor Nolan Ryan. I don't know any flame-throwing pitchers from Texas that wouldn't want to honor Nolan Ryan. He's from Mansfield, Texas, which is outside of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex.
And Nolan Ryan started his career here in New York.
0-2 pitch. Again, down in the dirt. The Ryan Express. Nolan Ryan's now part of the Astros organization after a tenure as president of the Rangers, and his son Reed is the president of that team, and they're having a great year. The Astros are in first place in the American League West, which still sounds strange. Braun, base hit right field. Sardinia's going to round third. He'll score. Parra on his way to third, and what an at-bat for Ryan Braun. Wow.
Yeah, outstanding work by Braun. An 8-pitch at-bat. Ends up getting a pitch out away from and able to line it into right field. Man, that's a good battle by Braun. Fastballs, curveballs, able to foul them off. That one outer half, and look at a nice short stroke. He makes contact back in the zone and able to get on top of it.
That
get
is,
the Brewers on the board.
You know, that's one of those at-bats when you're struggling. That'd probably be an at-bat that Braun would go look at on video. Fouling all of those pitches off. He's such a good hitter. He hits it to all fields. But when he gets down in the count with a guy throwing at this velocity, he's great going the opposite direction. Drives in the first run of the game for the Brewers. And now Adam Lind up there with 1 out and runners at the corners. Five to 1. Lind tonight at the plate. Strikeout in a single. Had the first hit of the game for the Brewers in the 4th.
They got a change up his last time up and able to hit it into right field.
Terry Collins sends his catcher out to chat with Syndergaard, trying to buy his bullpen a little extra time.
It really is amazing that this is the point in the ball game in his first start where he started to give up some runs. I think teams that haven't seen him before, I think he's going to have an early advantage with every team that he faces early on. Third time through, much better swings for the Brew Crew.
And able to lay off the high fastball. Now if the Brewers manage a comeback today, they'll be able to point to the Braun at bat in this 6th inning. That was extraordinary. And an RBI single to give Milwaukee their first run. 2-0 on Adam Lind. Make it 3-0. I beg your pardon. Got a Ramos Ramirez on deck. This could be the last hitter for Syndergaard if he does not retire Lind. A first rounder by the Blue Jays. After R.A. Dickey won the Cy Young as a Met, they traded him the next offseason. Syndergaard was part of that deal. Lynn a little late on the swing, and Kadair will make the catch, and no chance for Parra to score.
Yeah, that's a big out right there. Brewers needed that. Now a 3-1 count. You got a good fastball hitter at the plate, and Adam Lynn jammed himself, and a weak fly ball to left. That's what velocity will do for you, partner.
And a way to bounce back.
Get behind in the count when you're throwing 97, 98. You get away with a hitter's count once in a while.
So 2 outs now. Still first and third. Here is Ramirez. Ramos always ready to pull the trigger. And he hammers one center field way back. Lagares will make the catch. He got a great jump and fetches a rocket off the bat of Aramis Ramirez. Inning over. Brewers get just 1 run. (5-1) Mets. Potawatomi scoreboard, courtesy of Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. Well, Fox Sports Supports is proud to team up with AYSO, the world's largest soccer club. Go to ayso.org/play to find your region and sign up for your fall team today. Good Sunday crowd at Citi Field in New York, and they're watching one of the Mets' top prospects make his home debut, Noah Syndergaard. And he is through 6 innings with just 1 run. Could be his last inning. Parra will remain in the game to play center field. Carlos Gomez left after being hit in the head. And Sophia is down there, and once she has a report, she will pass it along to us. Gomez appeared to be okay. They took him out of the game, but he walked off the field under his own power.
Yeah, sometimes those things don't have those ill effects until after a few minutes, or maybe even the next day. You can get hit in the head like that. There's certainly a lot of trauma. How about that Ramos Ramirez? That ball sounded pretty good off the bat. It didn't go anywhere. Lagares made that one look easy.
Lagares got a great jump. I mean, it was as if he was already running in the direction before Ramirez made contact. He was already moving that way. I think Ramirez was as shocked as anyone that Lagares was under it. He thought he had hit it over his head.
Yeah.
There's a base hit to center. So Lagares, after a beautiful running catch, delivers a single to start the inning. He has 2 hits. Now, this could have been a big one here.
Yeah, he plays shallow out in center field because he's able to do this. Look at how quickly he is on his horse and able to angle back. I mean, didn't take a false step. He took a great route and made that one look easy, catching it right in front of the warning track.
Counsell on his way to the mound. He's going to make the change after a leadoff single. So Peralta's day is over. 5+ innings for Wily Peralta, 5 earned runs. Here comes Will Smith. We'll take a break. Here today, 5-1 New York. Peralta is out after 5+ innings and 5 runs. Take a look at the Marshfield Clinic leaders in relief. KHRIS leads the club with 20 games. Will Smith is out of the Brewers bullpen to make his 18th appearance of the season.
Hey, 231 earned run average. Smith's been pretty good. Last pitched on Tuesday against the White Sox. Retired both batters that he faced, just ran a couple of inherited base runners. That was in the 7th inning. Has been unscored upon in 14 of 17 appearances this year.
Granderson, Smith's first matchup with a runner at first and nobody out. Granderson homered to start the game, set the tone. A booming home run to right. He's 1 for 3 today. He's homered in back-to-back games. Spins one in for a strike. Yeah, Granderson bailing out. We got a no-hitter watch going, partner.
Okay.
Shelby Miller of the Atlanta Braves, the former Cardinal, has a no-hitter through 7 innings versus the Marlins. Had some pretty special defense in that game, including a play by Shelby Miller on a little slow roller with the speedy D. Gordon at the plate. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Miller is pitching in the 8th inning in Miami, has 1 out in the 8th.
That was a pretty good trade for both teams if you think about it. I mean, Shelby Miller in a pitching rich St. Louis Cardinals organization, and they get Jason Hayward over in St. Louis.
There goes the runner. Centeno's throw is late. He got a great jump. Legara steals second. And a 2-2 count on Granderson. Not much Centeno could do about that.
Yeah, it's a big jump and a good lead, and looked like Legara's had Will Smith measured in the first few pitches and able to get a great jump, and not much that Centeno could do about that. Centeno, pretty good throwing catcher from what we remember of him in spring training.
Yeah.
Handles himself very well back there.
He opened up some eyes in spring training. Coming to the Brewers from the Mets. And a couple of big league seasons with the Mets, up and down between the major leagues and the minor leagues with New York. In the air to left, routine for Davis. The first out of the inning. Got to bring up Eric Campbell now, who has 2 hits. He scored twice, and he drove in a run with 2 outs in the 4th. That started a 3-run inning for the Mets. All 3 of the runs coming with 2-out hits. Kadire had a 2 RBI single with 2 outs later in the inning. Game looks a lot different if Peralta can get through that inning. But the Mets came up big with 2 outs.
It's been the story of this series. Big innings for the team that's won. Brewers had a 4-run 3rd inning on Friday. Mets had a 10-run inning yesterday.
Shelby Miller's through 8, Rock. 8 no-hit innings. Andrelton Simmons just made a great play to get Christian Yelich to end the inning. So Shelby Miller is 3 outs away from the first no-hitter of the season.
Brewers going to see Shelby Miller in Atlanta. What's he do to pitch Friday?
Sometimes it's good to catch a pitcher after a no-hitter.
A little no-hitter hangover, maybe.
Campbell took that one right off the inside of the knee, I think. That one shook him up a little bit. See where this one hits him.
On the leg. How about that?
Yeah, right on the knee.
Right on the knee. Don't have any padding there.
Yeah, these super slow-mo cameras really give you a good idea of the impact that the baseball has. And you know, the hit by pitch for Gomez knocked his helmet off. The impact of the ball on the knee of Campbell. He's smiling, but
it hurts.
It hurts him.
Yeah, it's not going to feel much better as the day goes on. It feels as good now as it's going to for a couple of days.
Mets with a runner at second, 1 out. Will Smith trying to get through this 6th inning, keeping the Brewers down 4. The 1-2. A little low.
Throw that same slider down and in, see if he even offers at it. That's the pitch that he banged off his knee.
Peralta started the inning, gave up a leadoff single. That is Lagares, who is standing at second base. Yeah, he doesn't bite. He was thinking along with you, partner. But Campbell able to lay off it. Will Smith, Atlanta area native. He's looking forward to returning to that area where he lives in the offseason, where he grew up. He was a big Braves fan growing up. And that one just missed. Boy, he had Campbell on the ropes. Can't get him to chase it. That was a pretty good looking pitch right there. But he didn't get the call, and Campbell is aboard.
Yeah, had him 1-2. Campbell able to work the walk. He was reserve your spot on the field for the Joe Nichols post-game concert on Friday, May 29th. With the Country Night VIP package, you watch the Brewers take on the Diamondbacks from the Dew Deck. Then get field access for the post-game concert. For details, visit brewers.com/concerts.
We got a nice little couple of days there outside of baseball games, though. We got the Bud Selig experience.
Yeah.
Debut on the 28th, which is an off day, and then the concert on the 29th.
Yeah, but then Bud Selig bobblehead day.
Who could forget? Two on, one out. Duda pulls it foul. There's such a difference playing with a lead like this. You know, I mean, the Brewers are running into teams that are free and easy, but you get a lead like this, the game changes completely on both sides. You can run the bases more aggressively. Hitters are a little more freed up. There's not that tension that comes with a low-scoring game or when you're down. That was a good yacker from Smith right there. It's 1-2.
And when your team's swinging the bats, I mean, when the guys that are supposed to be driving in the runs are doing that, you know, guys like Duda, guys like Granderson, when they're getting their job done, it relaxes everybody else in the lineup. I mean, that's just the way it goes.
Did he go, they'll ask, and he did not. Jeff Nelson, the crew chief over there at third base, said he checked his swing. 2-2 to Lucas Duda. Always a lot of talk. Who is going to end up at first base for the Mets? Ike Davis or Lucas Duda? And they went with Duda. Davis traded away. Went to the Pirates from the Mets. Now he's with Oakland. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Well located breaking ball by Smith, and Duda is the second out of the inning.
Yeah, just unhittable for a left-handed batter when you put that slider down there. Down and away off the plate. You can see the angle that baseball comes into Duda as it crosses home plate, going away from him, and it's such a difficult pitch to stay on.
Well, here's the test for Smith, the right-handed hitting Kadire, who's already driven in a pair today. And a 2-out hit his last time up. Last year, Will Smith proved he was more than just a situational left-hander. Still some talk that Will Smith could ultimately end up in the starting rotation at some point of his career, maybe next year even. The one thing about Smith as a starter, you wouldn't see the 94, 95 mile an hour fastball. He'd probably, as a starter, be sitting around 90 to 91.
Yeah, well, he's been pretty good in the role that he's at right now. And you have to find somebody else to fill that role. Which is more important, right?
I guess it all depends on the philosophical approach of the organization at that point.
Yep.
If you're in it and you're in a pennant race and you're trying to win, you put your best pieces in certain spots. If you're trying to regroup and reorganize the franchise, then maybe you stretch him out and let him be a starter. Who knows? There's a swing and a miss. He got him. Wow. Smith with a nasty breaking ball strikes out a very good hitter, and he holds serve, strands a couple. Still 5-1 Mets. is a success. 3 hits allowed. He gives up just 1 run. Jimmy John's delivery of the game. Syndergaard hit 98 miles an hour in the very first inning, and he kept that fastball in the go position all game and got out of a mess in the 6th to complete his day.
Yeah, I think the most impressive thing for me about Syndergaard was his ability to throw strikes. He walked 1, and he had a pretty good curveball today. He made a couple of mistakes with the changeup, but overall, I would imagine the Mets very pleased about the way he threw the baseball today.
95 pitches, he had 5 strikeouts. He's got a chance to pick up his first win as a major leaguer in just his 2nd start. Kid from Texas with the blazing fastball did not disappoint Mets fans today. So Terry Collins will turn it over to Sean Gilmartin, left-hander out of the bullpen, and Craig Counsell is going to counter with Hector Gomez to lead off here.
Yeah, pulling Scooter Gennett against the left-handed pitcher. We saw Gilmartin on Friday through a scoreless inning.
The Mets have 3 lefties in their bullpen. We're keeping an eye on the no-hitter. Shelby Miller has no-hit the Marlins through 8 innings. He is pitching in the 9th. Jeff Grayson in our Fox Sports Wisconsin studios is all over it. And we still have not gotten an update on Carlos Gomez yet either. Carlos left the game after being hit by a pitch. Brewers are pretty consistent, not giving much information during a game on injuries and whatnot.
Right.
So,
unless they just don't know what's going on with Carlos yet. Probably getting some testing done, but yeah, sometimes information to the press box a bit slow.
if we get it, we'll pass it along. Otherwise, stay tuned for the Brewers Live postgame show. Sophia will be down there, and she'll dig it out. She always does. Hector Gomez batting for the first time today. Gennett was 0 for 2. Hector's got his family here in New York. His dad, his uncle, his brother. This has been a nice little run for him in the big leagues. He's swinging the bat well and hit his first major league home run last week. That came off Clayton Kershaw. That's going to be a memory for a lifetime.
Yeah, hit a triple and a home run off of Kershaw. Very aggressive hitter, and he's a heck of a defender in the infield.
Full count, and down he goes. Now the Brewers have an abundance of shortstops, and in the spotlight today in our Blaine's Down on the Farm, here's a guy that is not in the prospect list but is playing very well. Yadiel Rivera, 2 for 4, had a double, drove in a run. I say he's not a prospect. He is a prospect, but he's having a hard time getting playing time because you got Arcia at AA and Sardinez playing short at the AAA level.
And that's the thing that you got to keep in mind, that when the AAA team loses a player, everybody else has leapfrogs. Everybody's moving around, so could be a bit problematic for your minor league organizations. The guy gets called up to the big leagues, the AA guy goes to AAA. A ball to AA. It's kind of a trickle down theory. A lot of moving around.
Juan Centeno into center field. Lagares got a late jump on this one, and it's over his head. Centeno into second base with a double.
Yeah, his first hit of the year. Misplayed out there in center field by Lagares. As good as he was on that fly ball off the bat of Ramirez, he just misjudged that. And Centeno put a charge into it, surprised him. It's a breaking pitch. And Centeno will take it. A double for his first hit of the season. So he's been on a couple of times. You can see him how shallow he is and just misplays it. That ball right at the edge of the warning track, and one that he normally catches.
So that'll be the day for Gilmartin with the Brewers and a man on. Back to the bullpen goes Terry Collins. Reporting on. So Miller goes the distance, gets a shutout, but does not get the no-hitter. A 2-hit shutout of the Marlins for Shelby Miller.
That's so close, huh?
Carlos Torres is the new pitcher. Comes in for the left-hander Gilmartin. Counsell sends Jason Rogers to the plate. Brewers are down 4 and needing to cash in on every opportunity from here on out.
Yeah, we saw Torres in the 8th inning on Friday. Ryan Braun hit a home run against him. Other than that, that was it.
Brewers are 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position today. Ryan Braun has the only hit. That was a single that produced a run in the 6th inning. Rogers off the bench in a pinch hit appearance. Now this is the area to get the Mets. We got at-bats here in the 7th, and then in the 8th. Things get a little tougher in the 9th when Familia comes in, but these next 5 outs are going to be crucial if the Brewers want to fight their way back into this game. Rogers takes a strike, 2-2 the count.
Carlos Torres basically fastball cutter he likes to throw. He'll throw a little bit more of a break and call it a slider.
Two-two. Good take and a good block behind the plate. 3-2 now. Rogers does have a homer, 3 RBIs, start of the year in AAA. He rolls over one foul. Jason's always been a good hitter up through the Brewers minor league system. He's been in Milwaukee since mid-April. Carlos Gomez injured his hamstring, and Rogers was called up from AAA. He was hitting .360 in AAA in the first 2 weeks of the season when he was called up. Yeah, good take. excellent at bat. 8-pitch at bat ends up in a walk, and the Brewers now with 2 on with just 1 out.
Yeah, he has been very good, and I think the Brewers would have him start some games once in a while if they were comfortable with him out there defensively. Play some first, play some third. Needs to tighten up his defense.
So that gives Luis Sardinas a chance. Sardinas batting 9th. Rogers was hitting for the pitcher Will Smith in the 8th spot. And remember, Carlos Gomez left this game. He was hit by a pitch. So it's Parra on deck, and it'll be his first at bat. And knowing Terry Collins, if it gets to Parra, he's going to go back to his bullpen. Doesn't do it here. Sardinas is a switch hitter. But the Mets skipper does have a left-hander loosening.
And he's got 2 more left-handers and 4 more right-handers down there. Check that, 3 right-handers down in the bullpen.
Sardinas got jammed. Duna goes to second for 1. That's all they'll get. The second out at second base. Puts runners at the corners. And back to the top of the order now. It is Parra. 3-6 on the putout. Well, let's see what Collins does here. Does he let it ride? Parra hit a home run here Friday night. Well, he's got a left-hander loose, but he's going to stick with Torres. Gerardo Parra says thank you very much. And on the first pitch, Torres says thank you very much. Inning over. Brewers strand 2 for the second consecutive inning. And the play works for Terry Collins. 7th inning stretch time at Citi Field. We turn it over to the Mets and their presentation of God Bless America. Enjoy.
And please rise and remove your caps as we honor our great nation and all of the men and women who help keep us safe and free with the singing of God Bless America. Please welcome Dana Veneziali in honor of EMS Day here at Citi Field.
God bless America. Them that I love stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers, it's Miller time. And by the Wisconsin Lottery, reminding you to please play responsibly. Well, the Brewers have had some opportunities the last 2 innings. They have stranded 2 runners in each of the last 2. Hector Gomez will stay in the game to play second base. It is 5-1 as we go to the bottom of the 7th. Jonathan Broxton is on to pitch.
Yeah, 15th appearance. It's been a while for Broxton. He hasn't pitched since Monday against the White Sox. He got tagged a blown save on his record. Gave up 2 runs in an inning of work, but was also credited with a win. So a blown save and a win. And the Brewers comeback victory.
Facing Daniel Murphy to start the inning. And Murphy sends one to right. Routine for BRAUN. 1 away here in the Mets 7th.
Jonathan Broxton's been bit by the home run bug. Seems to be an issue that the entire pitching staff has been dealing with this year. Broxton's allowed 3 homers out of the bullpen in 12 2/3 innings.
He's talking to Craig Counsell today about Broxton, knowing that he needs to get him going on the mound. He's going to be a high leverage pitcher as Flores bounces out. 2 quick outs for Broxton. Can't change what you're doing right now, not this early in the season. He's here to do a job, and they're going to have him work through it.
Hey, this season the Brewers want to send you to Summerfest with the Rock the Ballpark ticket package. You get both a Brewers ticket and a Summerfest general admission ticket, all for just $22. The first game is on Memorial Day. For details, visit brewers.com/Summerfest.
One of my favorite times of the year, Summerfest in Milwaukee. One of the many things that makes Milwaukee special.
Yeah, festival season, festivals all over Milwaukee and down on the Summerfest grounds. Voting season getting a bit of a late start, partner.
Your guy Keith Urban is going to be at Summerfest this year.
My guy.
Now that you're going to embark on the Keith Urban guitar lessons that we see on television, by time Summerfest gets here, you could know 30 songs.
I might be up on the main stage. That's right. Well, you don't forget a thing, do you?
Be careful what you tell me, man.
I know it.
These kind of games, everything's free game.
I gotta be careful, man.
Brewers are down 4. See if they got a rally in them as we head to the 8th.
Back in the 6th inning, Ryan Braun with an 8-pitch at bat. I mean, just continued to fight off good pitch after good pitch. Missed a couple of hanging breaking balls, but able to foul them off. There was one that he would like to have back. And then finally, on pitch number 8, a fastball up and away, and able to drive it into right field for a base hit to get the Brewers on the scoreboard. That was a heck of an at-bat by Ryan Braun, our Marshfield Clinic shining moment of the game.
The kind of at-bat that still separates Ryan Braun from most other hitters in the big leagues. Not many that can do what he can do.
Not many can cover the outside part of the plate like Ryan can. I mean, most good hitters are going to be able to cover one side of the plate pretty well. But what Ryan's able to do, not that he's real good on pitches hard inside. Nobody is really. You just have to foul those pitches off and wait for one you can handle, and that's what he did. As Hansel Robles takes over here in the 8th. Got the big fastball and the slider. And a 476 earned run average. Brewers better get going right here.
Well, they have 6 outs to work with. Series is on the line today. Brewers won the opener Friday night 7-0. Mets came back and won 14-1 last night. Chris Davis is 0 for 3, struck out a couple of times. Up and in from Robles. Brewers are headed to Detroit tonight. Start a series with the Tigers. Tomorrow, a 3-game series. Tigers are in first place in the American League Central, tied with the Royals. Twins are playing good baseball.
Yeah, they are.
Paul Molitor. I saw a Brewers fan with a Molitor jersey on earlier today. Molitor's done a great job skippering that team.
They're swinging the bats pretty well.
Yeah, Minnesota is 5 games over. Got the Tigers, the Royals. White Sox were supposed to be good this year. I think they still will be. But right now they're a game under 500. Cleveland's been the surprise team that is at the bottom of the standings.
Yeah. Twins are 3rd in the league, American League in batting average. Brewers haven't been to Detroit since 2009.
I remember it well.
2007 is when Verlander no-hit him.
First of his 2 no-hitters, Verlander. That ball is hit well into center, but Lagares will run it down. Davis is out. 1 away in the 8th.
Tigers swept the Brewers in 09. Remember, Verlander no-hit the Brewers the first game of that 3-game series. Then the Brewers came back and won the next 2 games.
That's right. And didn't they win in 07? You're right. You mean,
right, yeah.
Didn't they win? I feel like the Brewers maybe won 5 or 6 in a row after being no-hit. They didn't lose another game on that road trip, I think, if I recall.
Yeah.
That was something. You know what I remember most about that day, Rock? That was my first year in the booth with you with the Brewers in 07, and Verlander threw the no-hitter, and that was historic. But that day, earlier in that game, Ernie Harwell joined us on the air. You remember that?
I remember that. Yep.
Ernie Harwell was a mentor of mine, and the first phone call I got when I got the Brewers job and came to Milwaukee for the first time, he was the first phone call.
It wasn't me?
At the Pfister Hotel. No, it was Ernie.
Oh, that's right. I never called, did I?
I'm still waiting on that call from you. But no, Ernie was great, and he's a legend, and we miss him.
Yeah.
He lived a great life, not just behind the mic, but away from broadcasting as well. He was just a special human being.
Yeah.
And he came on the air that day, and he signed both of our scorebooks, and then we saw him the next day. And we said Ernie wasn't working at the time. He had come to the ballpark. And we said, well, you come on the air and Verlander throws a no-hitter. He goes, that'll teach you. I know Ernie was always one of the favorites of Doug Melvin growing up in Canada. Melvin was the Brewers GM, was able to listen to the Tigers on the radio with Ernie Harwell. The great Ernie Harwell.
Yep.
And there's a statue there. We always like to pay our respects when we go to Detroit. I feel like I've started to become the Tigers announcer recently. I've been to Detroit so much because of their great playoff success. They've been in the playoffs every year and working on the national games. We end up in Detroit, it seems like, all the time.
Yeah, always seems to be in the postseason, right?
I had the Tigers last year. They got swept by the Orioles last year. That was a huge shock. Their 3 aces got beat in succession by the Orioles. Braun with a bouncing ball to Murphy. And the Brewers are going easy here in the 8th. 2 outs. Our Miller Lite What's on Tap gives you the pitching matchups for the Tigers series. So Fires tomorrow. You got Nelson on Tuesday. And then Kyle Loesch coming off his 8 scoreless innings will pitch Wednesday in the finale. Those are all night games. Every night we're on the air at 5:30 for Brewers Live. And the first pitch just after the 6 o'clock hour in the Central Time Zone. Fires up first.
Got some ideas for lunch since you've been there so much? No?
We're always, I believe we're staying out of town, aren't we?
In Birmingham.
Yeah, that's a great little town.
Yeah. So that's a no?
So no, I haven't been there enough.
Okay.
I'm a downtown Detroit guy.
Okay.
We'll have to ask Joe Block. He's a Michigan native, Detroit native, Brewers radio announcer. I'm sure he'll pick up the tab. He's in his 3rd year now and still waiting on that first.
Yeah, still waiting. It's
meal.
great. It's okay. Still waiting on you too.
There's Joe Block. Yep, all smiles up there working with you. By the way, Joe is going to take over as the lead play-by-play announcer on the radio in Detroit. Jeff Levering will make his major league debut as a broadcaster. Brewers go quickly in the 8th, 3 up and 3 down. Lim strikes out to end the inning. Yes, that's right. Traded for a player from the Atlanta Crackers. Good call. Good work there, Jeff. I know he was one of Jeff's favorites as well. So K-Rod is on the mound. And just needing some work, he pitches the bottom of the 8th inning here in a 5-1 game. Kirk Neuenhuis will lead off. See the numbers on Frankie. He's 7 for 7 in save opportunities, but they have not come around very often. Now that Frankie Rodriguez is in the game, the much anticipated trivia answer can finally be revealed. Our producer Brent Reeland's been sitting on that for a while.
That's kind of been his kind of signature, isn't it? Doing the trivia question and waiting about 7 innings. Well, giving people time to chew on it.
He says he does it on purpose. I don't know. He could be right.
I like that better than the following inning. You don't have much time to think about the question.
Yeah, we give you the question in the first inning, and we may or may not get it in before the end of the game. But here it is. 3 current Brewers also played for the Mets. Carsoup.com trivia. And Frankie Rodriguez is on the list. As Neuenhuis grounds out, you got Centeno. That was the one that would get you, I bet. Juan Centeno. Carlos Gomez, Frankie Rodriguez, those are pretty easy. Centeno's the wild card in that group. Tell them what they've won, Rock.
I'm thinking that we should, show the question in like the second inning and then give the answer on the postgame show. That'll keep people around. Is that allowed?
I think we make the rules.
I think they can do anything they want down there.
Pretty much. They certainly say whatever they want in our ear. Like, for example, right now, there's lots of things being said. Fly ball to right. And Braun is there. We need to check in with Sophia here, partner, for an update on Carlos Gomez, who left the game after being hit in the head by a SYNDERGAARD fastball. What do you have, Sophia, on Carlos?
Yes, after that really scary situation in the 6th inning, he was able to walk off into the clubhouse on his own. And now the report from the clubhouse that Gomez has a facial contusion, but no concussion. So very good news there on Gomez. Again, they call it a facial contusion, but no concussion.
And when you look at the replay, it's just so fortunate that baseball hit his helmet.
It's those new helmets that Major League Baseball has come up with that absorb more of the brunt of the shock of those situations. Same thing with Gene Segura a couple of weeks ago.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, Segura got hit right on the Brewers logo, and it would have been right on the forehead.
Well, that's a good news report from the clubhouse. Hopefully Gomez will be good to go tomorrow. He didn't want to come out, but Craig Counsell taking no chances. Shift is on. Granderson is out, and Francisco Rodriguez works a 3-up 3-down inning. Last call for the Brewers. They need 4 to tie it. We head to the 9th. Fox Sports Wisconsin, presented by Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. Book your stay now. Now the Brewers are down to their last 3 outs. Aramis Ramirez ready to lead off, and the Mets closer is coming out. Not a save situation here, but Yuris Familia is a perfect 13 for 13 in this role and racking up a bunch of strikeouts.
Yeah, it hasn't been in the game since the 13th. That's 4 days. And making his first home appearance since May 6th.
Ramirez swinging away at the first pitch.
Yeah, Familia tied for the major league lead in saves. He's 13 for 13. He's allowed only 1 earned run in his last 12 2/3 innings with 15 punch-outs. That's a good split-fingered fastball.
Quickly 0-2. Little tapper. Familia makes the play for the first out. Hector Gomez now. Now Willie Peralta started. He went 5+ today. Gave up 5 earned runs. Gave up a leadoff home run to Granderson. And then it was Smith who came on to get through a bit of a mess. Smith looked pretty good today. Broxton pitched.
Yeah.
Had a nice clean 1-2-3 inning. KHRIS.
Just not able to score enough runs. I mean, the Mets pitching staff has been able to keep the Brewers down just about all day. Only scoring opportunities really 6th and 7th innings. And that's been it.
Now the Brewers, barring a comeback here, are going to drop to 12 games under 500, 13 and 25. Something's got to give at some point. There's got to be a turnaround. Got to be consistent play, a winning streak, or there are going to be changes. Not sure what those will be, but I think everybody senses that, feels that.
Yeah, very disappointing start. I mean, that's an understatement.
If you don't feel like you have a contending club, then you absolutely have to try to reset for next season. Gomez grounds out. 2 gone. Well, the Brewers started with a bang here in this series. Had a beautifully played ball game on Friday and a 7-0 win. Swung the bats well, played excellent defense, got great pitching from Loesch. But it's been ugly since. Yesterday was a mess. 14-1 final. A 3-run 4th inning today helped separate the Mets from the Brewers, and all 3 of those runs came with 2 outs. That was the killer inning. Big hits in that inning from Eric Campbell and a 2 RBI single from Michael Kadire.
Man, that was an inning toward the end of the inning. Willie just couldn't get ahead in the count. He was behind in the count. 3-4 hitters in a row.
Right off the leg of Familia, recovers, throws in time, and the ball game is over. Familia down on the ground. That stung him a little bit, but he makes the play. Centeno is out, and the Brewers drop the series in New York. And the Mets will remain in first place in the National League East. Makes a winner out of Noah Syndergaard. The Mets' top pitching prospect comes up and in his home debut picks up his first major league victory, going 6 innings. Brewers lose 5-1 today, and now they'll reset for Detroit. We send it to Jeff Grayson in our Fox Sports Wisconsin studios. Take it away, Jeff.